All right, it's Georgia, it's Florida. Savannah Lee Richardson joins us from Bulldog Illustrated to set us up for the Gators and the Dogs. And it's been quite a struggle for the Florida Gators this year, 3-3. They came out of the gate and they got whipped by Michigan. They really could have a better record on one hand if you looked at the bright side, or they could have a worse record. They escaped Kentucky. They really escaped Tennessee, but they had a 1-point loss against LSU in recent weeks as well. So the Gators are coming off a bye week as well and face Georgia. Your thoughts about what you see from the Gators from a Georgia standpoint? Obviously, they continue to have issues in the passing game, and that's been a theme for a few years now.
Yeah, I just think that when they got hit with those 9 suspensions at the beginning of the season, it just kind of almost took the life out of the team. Like you said, they barely got by Tennessee and Kentucky, and I think that if they didn't have the special play against Tennessee, that would be another loss. I just think that Jim McElwain doesn't necessarily have a leader at quarterback just yet because he can't figure out who he needs to start. Felipe Franks, I think, has the best arm out of the quarterbacks that they're using, and I think that's who is going to end up starting for the rest of the season. But he's got to figure out how to run that offense efficiently because watching Florida throughout the past few weeks, it doesn't look like the same Florida-style team that I've seen in the past. And then you also have a defense who's usually dominant in the secondary, and I just don't see that out of them. Their defensive line is pretty good this season along with their linebacker group, but usually what people stand out the most when they talk about Florida defense is their secondary, and I just don't think they're as strong of a unit as years past. However, Jordan Sherritt, one of the defensive linemen that has been making a statement this year for Florida, had season-ending hip surgery last week, and so he will not be playing against Georgia, and I think that's just yet another blow. Florida just keeps getting the short end of the stick, I guess you could say, not to sound cliche or anything like that, but 9 suspensions, injury after injury, and then this guy having season-ending hip surgery that could probably help plug in to stop Georgia's run, and it just isn't happening. ESPN has, I think, Georgia as a 14-point favorite right now, and if I look back correctly and looking at tweets and stuff today, I think that's the biggest advantage Georgia's had, or the point spread-wise, in like 30 years against Florida. That's how tight this matchup is, and I don't think that it's going to be a walk in the park for Georgia. With a neutral field, it's hard to get your fans there excited, even though it is the world's largest cocktail party. I just think it's going to be a little different this week, and Georgia's just going to have to go in there and continue their game plan and act like it's another business trip.
Yeah, this is really Florida's last stand to make something special out of 2017. Sometimes a team is down. Sometimes they are counted out by everybody, and a wounded animal is very dangerous. And so it seems ridiculous at this point, the way Georgia's playing and having everything going on both sides of the ball and the struggles that we see out of the Gators, that this is going to be a competitive game. But we see it all the time in college football, especially in rivalry games. But again, I will point to a team that's has its issues and still has tremendous front seven talent on defense. Chauncey Gardner, Duke Dawson in the backfield on defense. When you have that type of defense, you have a chance. So they're going to have to create turnovers. They're going to have to create big plays on special teams, help out the offense with field position. But it would not shock me if Florida made this a game. I haven't made my prediction. That'll come later in the week. But I think there's a large gap between the two teams right now and the way that they're playing. But we've seen it countless times in these type games where a team that has NFL talent, meaning Florida, but they just have large issues in certain aspects of the game, and it continues to be throwing the football and the offensive line, that if they can just play out of their minds, unlike any game that they've played this season, that gives them a puncher's chance against the Georgia Bulldogs, who are playing as well as anybody in the country.